Today, we're going to be talking about obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And a lot of people get this one confused with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And they're different in that obsessive compulsive disorder is focused primarily on obsessions and compulsions or rituals. So the classic would be someone who has an obsession about germs or about diseases, and they wash their hands maybe 100 times a day. Typically, OCD are people who have rituals that they develop over time, or they check different things that they're concerned about. That's different from OCPD, an obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which is what we're going to talk about today. This is under the cluster C, and these are primarily focused on anxiety and fear. So the obsessive compulsive personality type is someone who likes things in order. They are extreme perfectionists. They like structure, they're logical and very rational. But they can also be incredibly rigid and stubborn in their thinking. These individuals like to be in control. And they also kind of get caught up in things that other people could care less about. They might have this paralysis through analysis because they're so afraid of making a mistake or failing that they ruminate and obsess over it over and over again. And maybe they have a hard time making a final choice or a final decision. A lot of the people that I see in my practice would fall in this category, or at least have characteristics that are part of this disorder. Many engineers would fit this category. Engineers are very logical, very rational, but they have a hard time with emotion. They have a hard time expressing emotion. They have a hard time understanding or being aware of other people's emotions, which fits with the obsessive compulsive type. These individuals are very driven, somewhat type A, and work is number one importance. In fact, they have a hard time having fun. And even their hobbies, they would label that as tasks, because fun is not something that they're comfortable with or used to. So like many of the other personality disorders, it's a multifactorial cause. It's biological, so bio, psycho, social. Biopsychosocial, so it's the genetics that play a part, it's the psychological, the learned behaviors, the environment in which they grew up, and lastly it's the social, it's some of their interactions and some of their experiences. All three impact the development of this particular disorder. And obviously, like many of the personality disorders, when they have an impact on a person's work functioning, on their social functioning, on their interpersonal relationship functioning, then it becomes a real problem. So as far as treatment goes, for many of the personality disorders, psychotherapy is the first line of defense and the best treatment option. Now, some people can benefit from some medicine if they have some anxiety or some depression tied into their personality disorder. But typically it's a cognitive behavioral approach. Like we've been talking about before, it's changing the way you think. It's reframing some of your thoughts. And in the case of OCPD, some of the thoughts are rigid, some of them are irrational, and many of them are damaging and destructive. These individuals have a hard time getting close to people and letting people get close to them. So teaching them some interpersonal relationship skills And being more emotionally intelligent and more emotionally aware is also of benefit to these individuals. And honestly, just helping them have fun in life and not be so fixated on accomplishments, productivity, performance, because that is typically where their focus lies. It's so important for these individuals to recognize the value in relationships and not be so focused on completing tasks. It's a personality that I can identify with to some extent because I tend to be logical and rational. Now, I have no trouble being emotional as well, which doesn't quite fit with this personality type, but I like things in order and I tend to be somewhat perfectionistic. As I said previously, many of us can relate to some of these personality disorders. If this is one that you can identify with, I encourage you to read up on it, to look at some of the resources, including the resources on my website, and recognize that we can all change. There are ways in which we can do a better job, be a better person, and learn more about our flaws or our weaknesses and make a modification. Take that next step. Make a change for your good and for the good of the people around you. Until next time, Dr. Tony for Ready.